Hey guys, it's the craft and variety hour.
Hi everybody, hello, здравствуйте, assalamu alaikum, bonjour, guten tag. Welcome to everybody who's watching my podcast. Before I get into anything, I want to give a really big, warm, genuine thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who watched the podcast, who left me nice comments on YouTube, who's joined our Ravelry group. I'm so happy that you guys watched the podcast and really enjoyed it. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I hope to put out some fun new podcasts on a weekly basis, but genuinely, this past week has been so fun and so amazing for me, just seeing all the wonderful people who have come out to watch the podcast. So truly thank you, and stay active, guys. Keep watching. So great. All right. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to the Knitters Party podcast. My name is Megan, I'm your host, and today we've got a lot to talk about. Before we get into that, I want to let you know you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Meg311yo. And please pop over to our Ravelry group, come join us. We've just got one little topic started so far, but I'm hoping to, do some more fun things as soon as we've got a few more watchers. So our Knitters Party podcast Ravelry group so far just has an introduce yourself section. And I'm really happy to see how many of you knitters out there are actually interested in craft beer. So getting right into it, this is a party, is it not? Today I've got a really wonderful craft beer for you. Oh, I'm coming from lovely Edmonton, Alberta, Canada today. I'm here with my in-laws family, and they have so generously allowed me to podcast from their home. So I'm in Canada, you guys. That means I'm drinking Canadian beer, and I am really geeked about this one in particular. The brewery is called Alley Cat, and this beer is called Main Squeeze. It's a grapefruit IPA. And if anyone, and I know a few of you watchers out there are from San Diego, the Ballast Point Brewery in San Diego pulls out a grapefruit IPA called Grapefruit Sculpin, and it has just taken the West Coast by storm. It's taken, it's available now over on the East Coast in Michigan, where I live. I've gotten it everywhere, but this beer is better, and Ballast Point is my favorite brewery pretty much on earth. So for me to say that is a big feat. So I wanted to share this with you guys and kind of pour it into a glass. Hopefully you guys are drinking something fun today. And cheers, guys. Just look at that color. Beautiful, clear filtered IPA. I've had a lot of unfiltered IPAs here in Canada, actually. We've been going out to different bars and restaurants with my husband's family, and of course every time we go out we have to try a new beer. So we've been getting around Edmonton, and just keep an eye on my Instagram if you're interested for what beers I've been drinking, because I've been drinking a lot. I'm going to finish what's in the bottle here, and then let's get into it, because I'm so excited for what I have to show you guys today. Today is all about Amigurumi, but before we get into that, I have to show you what I'm wearing. I have to show you my work in progress, and after that, we'll be able to talk about all the amigurumis. I wish you could see how many eyes are staring at me right now from every direction. Literally, there are amigurumis all over the place. So let's get into it. Cheers, guys. Main Squeeze by Alley Cat. Drink it. Also, I know a lot of you viewers are from Canada, so thank you also for anyone who's commented on our Ravelry group, especially if you're saying where you're from, who you are, how you've been knitting. Thank you. I genuinely read every post so far. There's not too many, but I've read them all, and a lot of you guys are from Canada, so you have access to this anytime you want. Feel free to drink it, all right? Perfect. So let's get into what am I wearing. This, as I said last time, I am a big fan of making garments, and this is no exception. This is the Dragonflies jumper by Johi Locatelli. Now, I've made some heavy modifications to it. Anyone who's familiar with the pattern will know that it is a worsted weight pattern and it's supposed to be a full sweater. I've done what's called the San Diego sweater, where you take any pattern for a sweater, whether it be worsted weight, DK weight, whatever, and you knit it in a lace weight yarn. So that's exactly what I did here. Unfortunately, I knit this in 2013 when I was still kind of new to Ravelry. I didn't log everything, so I don't know what size needle I used. I do remember the yarn. It is Fiber Spates. I believe it's 100% merino wool. It's not superwash, and I know that because it is pilling and felting quite badly under the armpit here, but we're not going to talk about that. But it's a Fiber Spates yarn in oyster colorway. So I wish I had the tag. It's been so long, but I actually really love wearing this. It's just a fun little knit t-shirt for me now. But it was a lot of fun to knit, and this was my first lace project. Shockingly, you might not guess, but this is my first lace project. I decided to make a whole sweater instead of a scarf or a hat or something smaller to practice my skills. No, I just decided to jump right in and make a huge sweater. But I love this. It has held up well to time, I'm not gonna lie. I've been very impressed, and I'm always happy to wear this out because this was the first garment that I made that I finished and liked it. I made one garment before then that I should have known right from the get-go was not going to work out. But this one was the first time I ever used like proper wool yarn. So anyway, highly recommend the Dragonflies jumper pattern by Joji Locatelli. It's a very well written pattern. It's gorgeous as all of her other Joji patterns, of course, you'll all know. But this was a really fun one to knit with. So moving on, let's talk about what's on my needles, because last week I had shown you two things that were on my needles. One were the socks and one were the, I was making a sweater by Vanessa Smith. Yes, I was making the Julissa sweater. I haven't made any progress on the Julissa sweater, but I want to show you guys how much progress I've made on my socks, because these are them. If you'll remember last week, I had not had a heel. I did not have a heel in them. I was probably up to about here, right about there, last time I showed you these socks. So I have made a ton of progress, and for me this is a lot of progress on a sock, not to mention that I have two of them. So I have more than a half object, because they are both more than halfway done. So I'm really excited. I've actually learned to like them, and to be honest, I did about 4 hours of knitting on them yesterday and they grew a lot. So I guess in terms of time, I can see how you guys like knitting socks, because they do kind of fly by. 4 hours of knitting on any garment is going to give you, you know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, depending the style of it. If it's raglan, you might get 1 inch in 4 hours. If you're doing it in pieces, you might get a lot more than that. But in general, I was shocked at how much I liked knitting these socks. So you'll remember the pattern is the Mercury sock pattern. I'll link it in below because I don't remember the name of the designer. Sorry, I'm a bad podcaster. I'll do my research next time, I swear. But this is in the Knit Picks Hawthorne yarn. It is a 75-25, I want to say, merino wool and 25% nylon blend. And this is in the colorway Beaumont. There we go. I got it, guys. I remembered. So this is in the Beaumont colorway. You'll remember these socks were originally going to be a scarf for my husband's uncle, who I really enjoy and like him a lot. Color was not right. Pattern did not look good, so I'm turning them into socks. I also think I told you last week that I was making these for my friend. I decided to keep them for myself. They fit me, you know, they fit me. The pattern it opens up quite a bit, and so it actually isn't super snug around my ankle so far, and I really like that. I didn't know if these would really genuinely fit me, but because the pattern is kind of tight knit right now and it opens up quite a bit, you can see that because it might be tight around the foot right now, it'll open up once I block it, it'll open up once I wear them, but I've never had great luck with socks, so who knows. Anyway, my Mercury socks, hooray! All right, because that's my only work in progress, and I do have kind of a finished object, but we're going to talk about that with today's themed segment, which is all about amigurumi. And now, to go into this section, I kind of have to tell you guys a little bit about my knitting history. And that's because amigurumi has become such an important part in my knitting lineage, my knitting sort of timeline, that without amigurumi, I wouldn't be the knitter I am today. I wouldn't be making garments. I wouldn't be knitting, scarves or anything. I would pretty much be still knitting the straight, scarf that you made as your first knitting project. So let's get into the history here, shall we? So to begin, when I was a little girl, my grandma taught me to knit when I was 11 years old. And she knew the knit stitch and the purl stitch, and she knew how to cast on. She never learned how to bind off because I learned to knit just after she learned to knit. So this was kind of a fun little story here. So my grandma taught me to knit at 11 years old, and she taught me and my sister. One afternoon, just in her condo, we were visiting down for Christmas or something. So of course, I pick up to it because I've been crafting my whole life. I've been, I love knitting. I love crafting. I love anything that comes from the craft store. So I started knitting, and I picked it up really quickly. My sister picked it up, but she didn't keep with it. No big deal. Let's fast forward a few years. I had knit a scarf for my mother, which maybe I'll show you guys next time because I found it in the closet of my family home last time I was there, and it's still around. So I'll have to show you guys my first knitting project next week. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, after that I had kind of knit a couple more scarves. I made a hat, and then I started working at Michael's Arts and Crafts when I was in high school. So for about 3 years, when I was 16, 17, 18 or so, I was working at Michael's Arts and Crafts. So I got more into knitting. And again, I was just knitting hats, but I learned how to knit in the round. I made my first pair of socks for my friend Lindsay. Oh, she still owns them too. God, what a good friend she is. They're hideous, you guys. They're like bright green and neon pink together, and it's hideous. Anyway, so fast forward. I'm knitting at Michael's. I didn't know how to cable yet, but I was kind of BSing my way through these conversations with customers. I didn't know anything about yarn. I was still buying all my yarn, all my needles at Michael's. So I'm knitting acrylic yarn. I'm knitting with, Susan Bates 13-inch, straight needles for every project I knit. And it was just a little, like we all start. I started off just knitting acrylic wool at the at the craft shop. No big deal. So fast forward to college. I had a couple of friends who, a lot of my friends graduated a year ahead of me. A couple of my friends left or were no longer my friends. So my senior year of college, I decided to pick up the needles again and start really knitting. So I started making a few more hats and getting more interested in things. And I knit my first amigurumi without even realizing kind of what it was. So this little guy here, a turtle, his name is Milton. This was the first thing I crocheted as a college student. And I had learned how to crochet many years before. I just picked up a book, no big deal. But I found that crochet was much easier to make, 3D things. It was easier to do shaping, and as a not so experienced knitter, crochet was a lot easier to do things like amigurumi. So I thought it was fun. I made this little dude, and I just had a great time with it. If you're interested, this is just Red Heart solid yarn, nothing special, bought at the craft store, probably made on a size J hook. Oh, I realized I purchased about 8 size J hooks because apparently one just isn't enough, and so I had to purchase more. And but anyway, this is my first amigurumi. His name is Milton, and I just liked him. And so I was Skyping with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, and he really liked him too. So he asked me to make him another turtle. And so this poor abomination right here, all this fuzzy, pilling yarn, this poor abomination, look at that face. That face will give you nightmares. This poor little abomination, her name is Macy Gray, just because I guess, And you can see that I didn't know how to weave in any ends. This yarn, I want to say is, I want to say it's Red Heart. It's like Mystic or something. They still sell it in craft stores. It's probably not all acrylic now that I'm looking at it and how it's pilled and how it's handled over time. This yarn right here is probably more the standard, 100% acrylic. This has definitely got to have some wool, I think. Mystique, I think is the name of the yarn. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't looked at the label. I haven't gone to a craft store for yarn in years now, thankfully. But I made another little turtle, and this time I made the head kind of so that it goes up, because what bothered me about Milton is just that his head, was flat, no big deal. But this one, I wanted to make sure that it had a nice, his head was standing up, like he could look at you and talk. But then, okay, you saw it first like this. This was a modification I made, this little hat, because what does this look like to you guys? Does it look like a penis? Because that's what it looked like to me. So I made this turtle, realized it had like a big penis for a head. And so I had to crochet a little hat for Macy Gray here. But this is my second attempt at amigurumi. You guys, I thought it was so good. But again, this face, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I didn't modify it. I guess I was just lazy. Sorry. But that's Macy Gray. So after that, I graduated college. I kind of moved in with my boyfriend. We got engaged. And he said that for that Christmas, he wanted me to make him an amigurumi. And now I have notes about this because it was so silly what he wanted to make for me. Be right back. I gotta get my notes, you guys. So he told me that he wanted something from the video game Dungeon Crawl. And he sent me, it was actually a JPEG image that he sent me via email. And he said, knit me something. And there were about 100 characters on this little grid. So it was probably 10 by 10. Yeah, actually 100 characters. All the characters from this old like DOS game that he used to play. And it was one of his favorites. And they're all sort of, a ghost or a sorcerer or a dragon or whatever. And so I chose to make something called a hell serpent, because that sounded easy. And I was an expert at amigurumi. I mean, you just saw Macy Gray. She's brilliant, right? But I made a little dragon. And this dragon, whose name is now Rex, became my first real proud project, a project I was proud of. There we go. Because he's really kind of cool. As many of you crocheters will know, crochet kind of twists if you're in the round. It's always off by a little bit every round, and so sometimes you make up for it. Nope, I just decided to go for a twisted dragon, which was really cool. I crocheted his wings, which are, they're mirror images of each other. That was pretty easy, but if you look at the back here, I didn't weave in any of my ends. You'll see little knots everywhere. Here, that one's actually quite tidy. Here we go. That's the one I wanted to show you guys. This little dangler right there. Yeah, I was not super proficient still. I didn't know about weaving in ends, but nobody tells you these things. So unless you're watching YouTube videos, unless you've got a tutorial, or unless you're reading a knitting book, or doing a pattern that specifically tells you how to weave in ends, you're never going to know, right? So this is Rex. He stands up on his own, his little face. And I was so proud of this. Just all the little details I had a lot of fun with. And I had fun crocheting his little horns right here. I made his legs separate from, his body, and then I had to sew them on. Look at his tooth. He's got a snaggle tooth there. But this project I was really proud of. I still am proud of it, actually, because for a crocheted project, and I'm trying to focus on knitting, as I was 22 at that time. And for me to make this no pattern, I was just going along with it. This is basically like color work. Like I would, come around here with red. I would start with yellow and float that red behind. Doing this, I had no idea that I was doing essentially, Fair Isle knitting or stranded knitting, but crochet. I did so many techniques here, increasing and decreasing and making shapes and making 3D, figurines and everything. I was really proud of this guy, and I'm still proud of him. So Rex is where I became totally obsessed with amigurumi. You guys haven't even seen the lot of them yet. So after our wedding, this was kind of like a little wedding gift for my husband. After our wedding, I got a job out in Massachusetts. We were in Somerville, but I was working in Cambridge. And so we moved out into our first real apartment together, and I kind of took my obsession for amigurumi with me. So mind you, I had 3 amigurumis at this point. I had Milton, I had Macy Gray, and I had Rex. I decided that I wanted to try knitting amigurumi. And I didn't know that it was called amigurumi at this point, but someone had, I feel like, I don't remember how I got this book, but this one book changed my life, you guys. The book is called Knitted Amigurumi by Hansi Singh, and she is an amazing designer. This book was filled with sea serpents and owls and octopus and aubergine, and they had different vegetables, they had different animals that exist, and then they had a section for animals that don't exist. So that's where the sea serpent comes from. They also had what's called a jackalope, which is a mix between an antelope and like a deer, or no, that is what an antelope is. It's like a rabbit. There we go, a rabbit and an antelope. And oh my god, these patterns were incredible. And honestly, you guys, it changed my life. So one of the first things I knit out of there was this little guy, a little snail. Now this snail does not have a name because I didn't feel like it had much of a personality, but I thought it was awesome. And so you can see here on the shell part, I learned how to make one increases. So make one left, make one right. You're doing it on both sides. You can shift the side if you want. I'm learning KFBs. I'm learning stitches I never knew existed. Because in my repertoire, there was knit, purl, knit 2 together, purl 2 together. I didn't know anything SSK. I didn't know how to make increases. I didn't know how to do anything. If I did a hat, it was from the bottom up. You never have to increase. I learned how to decrease. I learned knit, purl, and that's it. For literally 10 years, I was knitting with those stitches. I mean, how do you get very far? And this book, Hansi Singh's Knitted Amigurumis, changed my life, you guys. I learned so many techniques in this book that I use today. I've learned so many fun things that you can just do with knitting. I mean, this book changed my life. Not only that, around the same time, I went to a local yarn store in Boston, in Cambridge actually. It's now closed, but it was a really nice store called Mind's Eye Yarns over in Cambridge. And someone there had told me about Ravelry, and she goes, oh, well, you're knitting amigurumis, like post it on Ravelry. And I was like, what's Ravelry? And then I learned Ravelry. So in the same year, I'm learning how to make stitches, increasing. I'm learning different decrease stitches. I learned about Ravelry. This year, 2012, was the year I became a knitter. I mean, really, it was the first time I'd ever been to a yarn shop that wasn't Michael's or, Joanne Fabrics or something. So 2012 was the year I found my knitting, and I'm really happy for that because I was in a job I didn't love, working my butt off for like no money. Living in Massachusetts was not a great experience for me or my husband, and so for me to have knitting as my release, as my creative outlet, it helped me through a lot. My husband, kind of had his own things going on in his own hobbies that he was able to seclude into, but truly knitting amigurumi and learning to knit was insane for me. So after this little snail guy, I made a number of different amigurumis, but one of them that I'm really proud of is this octopus. I hope you guys can see how incredible this is. Every single piece of this pattern has shaping to it. And mind you, this pattern is in the book. All these patterns are available on Ravelry, of course. But I mean, look at that. I believe you start at the crown of the head, you increase all around, something new to me. You bring it down, you do shaping short rows all around the nose of this awesome octopus, and then you kind of stop around the neck. The next thing you do is to make all of these incredible tentacles. And they're, of course, multicolored, two-color, but you basically connect them. I want to say it's been forever since I've knit this pattern. I want to say you connect them with Kitchener, but I don't want to give too much away from the pattern because the pattern is incredible, you guys. And so you also, super cool, God, Hansi Singh, if I had a knitting idol, it would be her because she is so incredible with her patterns. These patterns, although not intuitive, are so well written. So anyway, these tentacles, what you do before you seam them up with the Kitchener is that you pop a pipe cleaner in there. And that way it allows you to kind of curl these little tentacles, making an octopus that looks so cool. So you make 8 tentacles. You then connect them here in the middle and bring them up and connect them around to your neck. How insane is this pattern, guys? How insane was I that I was willing to Kitchener this many tentacles and this many stitches? I think I was just so enamored by the new stitches that I was learning. I was learning short rows, increasing, decreasing, shaping, colors. This is also what I call my magical blue yarn because I don't remember where I got this yarn. It's 100% acrylic, but this color blue, this royal blue, just speaks to me. And I used this yarn on so many different little projects that I had. I ended up with a tiny ball about this big and I had to use it somehow. I don't even remember how I used it, but I never threw it away because this blue yarn I've never found since. It is that perfect royal blue, gorgeous color. I don't know what it is. It's not Red Heart, nor is it Karen, nor is it Lion Brand. But I definitely bought this yarn at a yarn, like a craft store, so not a proper wool shop, right? So I have no idea what this yarn is. If you know, give me a holler, because I would love to know what this yarn is, but I don't. Anyway, this octopus is incredible. Hansi Singh, we're not done yet. The next thing I make, this incredible little guy. This is called the Horned Owl pattern, also by Hansi Singh. This one was not included in the book. This one was a pattern I found on Ravelry. She was the first designer I ever looked up on Ravelry, was Hansi Singh. And this little guy is so cool too. I finally knit this out of cotton yarn. Sorry, it's pilling a little bit. All my amigurumis just got a wash, so some of them are pilling more than others, and this is one of them. But this is the Horned Owl project by Hansi Singh, and it's really great. Some of these techniques, I mean, I don't even know. That looks professional, and I know I knit it, so I don't know what the heck I was thinking. But one of the cool things about this is just, you know, sort of that it was an owl, and I loved it. So after these 3 projects, I thought to myself, you know what? Oh, hold on, there's one more before I get into anything else that's crazy. You guys, I'm obsessed. I was obsessed. I have not. That's such a lie. I'm still obsessed with amigurumis. The last thing that I made that isn't of a new generation of amigurumi that we're going to talk about are these little guys. They're coasters. They're owl coasters, you guys. And this set I made for my mother-in-law. And so I made her little tags that go with it that say, "Hello, my name is Margaret." So this is Margaret. "Hello, my name is Sunshine." "Hey, Sunshine, welcome to the world, little buddy." And I just loved these. And this pattern is called Owl Coasters by Bonna Chaplin, or Chaplain. I'm not sure if she's, you know, potentially French or French Canadian. But Bonna Chaplin, thank you for this amazing pattern. I made 8 of them because these are mine. So I made 4 for my mother-in-law, which she has kept hers in much better condition because she's using one until they die and then using a new one. The problem is this is crocheted in cotton. Lily Sugar and Cream is all of these awesome owl coasters. And so they never die. They're just going to get dirty until you decide to throw them away because they will never die. They're just going to get stronger with use. So these are mine. I've had these in my home for 4 years now, since 2012, and you can see mine have been through the ringer a little bit. This one especially, his name is Michael Jackson, if you're wondering. This is our favorite beer and wine coaster. So he's got a stained belly from all the red wine and dark beers. And mind you, we've washed these quite a bit in the washer and dryer. I mean, they're perfectly washable cotton yarn. You can't screw it up. But these little guys are insane. And I just had so much fun making them. The only problem is when you make something this cute, everybody wants them. And so I had to stave people off, basically telling them, I'm so sorry, no, I won't knit you a set of coasters. I can't. And also, I'm sorry guys, I'm a really selfish knitter, so I choose to knit for myself, I knit for my husband, or I knit for people who don't necessarily know they're getting something knitted for them. But if somebody asks me to knit for them, I find it difficult to get the motivation or to say yes. Shame on me. So anyway, those are some of my Boston knits, as I like to refer to them. But after having learned so many new techniques, so many new stitches, this book by Hansi Singh, sorry if I call it Amigurumi. She has another set of patterns on Ravelry called Amigurumi. And so I kind of mixed the two up. But the book I had was called Knitted Amigurumi, or Knit Amigurumi. I'll pop a picture in if I can figure out how to do that. But it was incredible. So anyway, I'm learning all these new stitches. I am having such a fun time crocheting and knitting all these amigurumis. I think to myself, I don't love some of these patterns that she has, but I like the idea of an owl. However, her owl is not super cute, right? So what if I want a different owl, you know? I know the techniques, I know the shaping, I can, find yarn, of course. I thought to myself, why don't I just try my hand at making patterns? And so I did just that. I ended up making, and I'm still constantly kind of designing these things in my head, but I can now call myself a knitwear designer because I have designed some amigurumi patterns. And the first little guy that I designed is this one. His name is Booties the Turtle. I've got a couple here for you. Oh, I've knit so many of these guys. You just give them away too. And their heads kind of stick up. They're kind of old, but if you stuff the neck a little bit more, they should be able to stand up forever and ever. But this is my little turtle pattern, you guys. And look how cute. They're like big enough to just fit in the palm of your hand. And they're so cute. And they are called Booties the Turtle. So I made a couple of these guys for myself. And I thought, oh my gosh, how fun was that? They're little shells. All of these are knit in Red Heart Soft yarns, by the way. 100% acrylic. I actually prefer working with acrylic for my amigurumis just because they're washable, they're a little shiny because of the acrylic. I like it generally better than cotton, but cotton will hold up to time better. It doesn't pill it's easier to remove the pilling on a cotton amigurumi, but also cotton is stiffer. And so if you want that shape to hold, especially with knitting, it's important. I recommend using cotton. So I made that little guy. And then I thought to myself, I loved knitting that horned owl pattern by Hansi Singh. Why don't I try my hand at some owls? Hi guys. So you're looking at Chubs and Bubs here. These are my two knitted amigurumi owls. And I just love them. Hi. So this is my pattern called Chubs the Owl, available on Ravelry. And he's also knit in that Red Heart Soft yarn. I like his little feathers, his little feet, little flappy feet. And the fun thing about these guys is that they will actually stand up. There we go. Granted, I'm holding him a little bit, but if you put him on a table or something, they'll stand up on their own if you just kind of plop them down, squish them down a little bit. And I just thought they were so cute. So here's Chubs and Bubs, your friendly neighborhood owls. And I'm not even done yet, guys. I knit a couple more things. One of them, which I was actually really happy with and proud of my design for this one, is my elephant. So this is my elephant. The pattern is called Orion the elephant. And I just thought it was so adorable. I've knit about 5 of these, but these ones are quick giveaways. So I only have the original prototype that I knit. Um, and I thought it was really great. And I knit this because I had, my mom's friend was having a grandchild. There was a baby coming, and my mom had asked me to knit a little toy for this baby. And I decided to make an elephant because elephants in a lot of cultures are good luck, specifically if their trunk is going up. So I've seen a lot of elephants where the trunk hangs straight down. I didn't want that. I wanted my trunk to be up for good luck. I believe it's in Hindu culture that the trunk, going up of an elephant is for good luck. Elephants in general are just really smart animals. I wanted to make something that had nothing but positive, happy energy, something that everybody loves. And everybody loves elephants. So I made my little elephant. And I'm really excited with this design. This one might be my favorite. I'm sorry that there are no eyes here, but you can see he's got like a little walking stance. His trunk is up. I like his little ears, all symmetrical and pointy. And what I've done with the ears is that I've kind of double knit them. And so I did use 4 DPNs. I'm not giving anything away because it's my podcast. It's my pattern. Sorry, I got some hairs coming out of him there. But I knit this so that it was the front and back is the same. There's no wrong side. And I just liked that shape, sort of everything about it. So this is my elephant. I'm really proud of him. I love this pattern. And it's pretty simple to knit, honestly. Got a little braided tail. Anyway, I was really excited to knit this, and so I knit a million more, and really like 3 or 4 more, but that's plenty. And I have just the one to show for it now. But the last thing that I'm going to show you is the one that I've been a bit more obsessed with. It's not just me. Oh God, I'm about to make a confession, you guys. My husband loves this next creature. Like loves them. Like both of us love them. If you didn't get a hint by the little dancing penguin in the front, oh, I gave it away. These are my pride and joy. My Amigurumi penguins. Wait, I'm just gonna pause it. Guys, I have been obsessed knitting my Amigurumi penguin pattern. And this is just so many that I've got. I believe there are 13, and I'm not going to go ahead and go through all of their names because they are all named. They all have a history. Some of them talk and have a personality. Some of them are just sillier than others. Oh, I'm missing one. Oh, this one is like the troublemaker of the group. His name is Craft Dinner because he is Craft Dinner Orange. And not only that, hi guys. He's a hovercraft dinner. You guys, I can't even with these. They're just too much. All right, I'm going to put some of these down. But we're going to talk about the penguin, okay? You guys, I'm surrounded. I'm outnumbered. All right, so this is Sergeant Pepper's penguin. Well, this is the actual Sergeant Pepper's. The name of the pattern is after his namesake, Sergeant Pepper's penguin. And they are so much fun. These ones are nice because there's only a few things that are little and finicky that you have to, use 4 stitches on 4 DPNs. I mean, like, there's not a lot in these. These ones are very simple compared to something like the elephant, or I've also got, I've got so many patterns out there, you guys. But this was the first guy that I made. This little guy's name is Yuri. I believe it's a Norse god. My husband named him. But you can see that these two have one major difference, and that is in the belly. On this guy, this was the first one that I ever made. So this was like prototype, like type 1, And what I did was I tried like a stranded knitting thing, where I would, come from the blue and then I would hit up the white and then I would go back to blue and I would float that blue the whole way around. The problem with that is that I'm not very good. I'm still to this day not very good at stranded knitting. And so this one, his belly is really kind of poofy. I love him that way. He's just the only one who's like that. So I love him for who he is. But it looked really bad. And so you can see here on the sides, I ended up doing like a little crochet chain around the edge just to try and clean it up a bit. But the stitches were really, you could see very clearly, that there were holes on the side. I mean, it just didn't look very good. So this is my prototype, Yuri. Next came Sgt. Pepper's, also in this pretty blue yarn. And this is actually Loops and Threads, I want to say, this worsted weight acrylic yarn. But this is the first guy where I made a belly separate and then sewed it on the front. And I think it looks a lot cleaner. And so next came this is, oh my God, why can't I think of him? My husband's gonna kill me. This is Sgt. Pepper's. This is Troublemaker Zeus. Yeah, this is Zeus. His name is Zeus. We say it like that. But I decided to make one blue, one black, and then these two were the original pair. So in my pattern, which, by the way, let me say, my patterns are available on YouTube. I am not trying to sell any specific patterns. I'm not using this podcast as a platform to sell patterns. In fact, I'm going to give you guys a coupon code at the end of this to where you can get a free pattern because they are for sale. I'm not trying to make money. I just love my amigurumis so much, and they happen to be available on Ravelry. I'm going to give you guys a coupon code as a thank you for watching where you can get one of my patterns for free if you want to join me in being obsessed with all these amigurumis. So anyway, just don't think that I'm trying to like plug my patterns or anything because that's totally not it. I'm just obsessed. So these two were the original guys, and they're the ones who are featured in the pattern. Then came kind of the shitstorm of amigurumi, because once my husband had 3, he wanted all the amigurumis. And so after him, I believe, came Fabulous. He's fabulous because he's a rainbow and he's just fabulous, darling. So loved him. This is not made of acrylic. I want to say this is like 50-50, maybe acrylic and wool. He's definitely a blend. Don't remember the yarn. Got it forever ago. Sorry, guys. So after him came, I want to say Craft Dinner. And so this is Craft Dinner. Hi, guys. He is such a troublemaker. Also made of Red Heart soft yarn. And he is just so quirky. And the nice thing, or I guess what I want to point out about any amigurumi, depending how you do their face, they look very different. And so we've got 3 knitted penguins here, all the same pattern, different yarns, different whatever, but really how you sew their eyes onto their face with the beak and everything, it gives them a personality. And Craft Dinner is kind of tilted to the side a little bit. And so he's kind of got this like, what you doing? Like this inquisitive look where he's always asking a question or something. And so that's him, and that's where his personality came from. And it is insane. I don't have kids. Thankfully, my husband is enough, and all these amigurumis are enough. But this little guy is one of our favorites, just because his personality is made by his face. I mean, just look at that face, you guys. How could you say no? I could do a synchronized dance and you guys wouldn't even know what hit you. So anyway, I also have made, this is Jingles, the Christmas penguin. And so ever since, oh, I missed the twins. Jeez. This is my twins. I made these for my husband for Christmas 2 years ago. And here we have Neil Armstrong and Yuri Gagarin, some very famous cosmonaut and astronaut. And these two they just bicker like old ladies, I'm telling you. But they are officially twins. These two were knit using the same needles, the same yarn. I knit all the accessories at the same time and then assembled them one by one. But look how different they look. Neil Armstrong over here, he's a little squattier, a little shorter, versus Yuri Gagarin. He's got a long neck. He has very red lips. Very red lips. He's been kissing lots of ladies. but they're just totally different. You can see their bodies look different, but these were knit identically. I mean, they were knit one after another. So I just love what personality comes out with these things. It's insane. So after that, I made Jingles the Christmas penguin. He was last year's Christmas gift to my husband. So these guys are 3 Christmases ago. So that would be like 2 years and like a month. This one is 2 years. No, just 1 year. Anyway, I'm getting confused on the dates. Totally unimportant. And he's a Christmas one, but he's also, if once you take off the scarf, he's Jingles the party penguin. Because look at his little hat. It's not really a Santa hat. It's more like a party hat. So he is just like so cute. I just love him. I crocheted super basic, you know, little slip stitch or slip stitch scarf here, knit or crocheted. And this is Jingles the party penguin. This is also one little girl. Her name is Svetlana. She's significantly littler than the others, and she's our keychain one. She doesn't go on a keychain, but her yarn I ended up making socks out of as well. It's a fingering weight merino and silk yarn. So she's made of silk. She's our little girl. She's the littlest one. She's so small. But that brings me to my finished object, you guys. This is my serious accomplishment for the week, the only one you guys are getting. And I couldn't show this on last week's podcast because my husband did not know that he was getting this for Christmas. I'm not gonna lie, I knit this one for me because I just had to. Welcome, Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea the penguin. She's so little. Look at her. You might recognize a lot of this yarn because I featured it all last week, in fact. This is the Araucania. The base yarn that I used is the Araucania, the sugarcane tencel fiber. And this is in their grass colorway. And this is she's made of sugarcane. That's why her name is Sweet Pea. This is also the other color of Araucania that I had purchased. And if you'll remember, this is the yarn that I purchased in Kuwait. When we were in Kuwait City, I went to this little yarn shop because of course, and they had no wool. So this was the sugarcane tencel that they had. And it was a great buy, and so I just had to do it. So this is Sweet Pea. This yarn for her little beak and feet here is the some of the leftover blue heron yarn that I had in the cotton rayon twist in the poppy colorway. Can't see so much the variation, but I'm not trying to objectify my penguin here. She's just so little. She's so little. She's so pretty. So compared to like Craft Dinner, she's also little, but she's made in, it's kind of a DK yarn. It's like between sport and DK. It's not quite a full DK yarn, but that's why she's littler, even though I knit her in the same pattern as the other guys. But I've also taken special requests, and so my mother-in-law loves, she likes my amigurumis, bless her heart. She likes my amigurumis, and she wanted a couple. Pedro, where's Pedro? Where's Pedro? Oh, he's at my feet. There we go. So I first gave her one little black penguin, and he's like fat, and I stuffed him a little more, which is nice and cozy. And this was her first amigurumi that I gave her. And so she was like, oh, you know what? I love Pedro. He's great. It's just not like short and fat enough. So can you make me like a shorter, fatter penguin? And so, boom. Enter Celeste. This is Celeste. This is Pedro. These are my mother-in-law's 2 nice knit penguins. And I did modify the pattern heavily for this one, but I just made her a little wider, a little shorter, no big deal. And she is just as beautiful as the rest. This is a body positive show, people. And Celeste and Pedro are just as amazing as all the other penguins. We don't mind what their bodies look like. In fact, she's even fun and squishy. She's just so soft. All of these guys are so much fun. All right. That's almost it, I swear. The last thing that I want to show you guys is what my mother-in-law asked me to make her one time. She saw a pattern, I don't remember where, and she sent me an email asking if I could make her something. And we're a little morbid here, so you know, look away if you don't like the macabre. It's a little reaper. So this is Grimsby. It is crocheted, of course, I'm sure you can tell. And he's got a little scythe. So I just made this pattern up. It's not written down or anything, but it's super easy. I mean, you can see there's nothing really special about this pattern, but I wanted to knit this for her, and she loved it so much that she asked for one that was a little more sinister, because look at his face. This is like the ghost of Christmas past, like nobody cares, right? So I made her the evil little Grimslet. So this guy is a little more sinister. I gave him eyebrows, a lot more of a look personality, and he has a flaming scythe. So you better be careful, you guys. He's coming for you. And so this little guy is just same sort of pattern, no big deal, like a little cape on the back, like Dracula. And I just loved it. I loved making it. I loved everything about it. And my mother-in-law really loves it too. So there you have it. This is like a collection of my life. Amigurumi, guys. So the moral of the story, if we can get back to where it all began, through learning about amigurumi, I learned so much about knitting, and it helped me be a much better knitter. And honestly, I would never go back. I mean, I'm literally buried in amigurumis right now. I've probably got 30 different animals around me, not to mention the ones I've given away, the ones I've scrapped, you know, the ones that are still in progress in my house. I mean, I don't make a lot of these anymore. 2012, when we were living in Massachusetts, that was the real year that I knit all these amigurumis. And since then, it's tapered off a little bit, but I still use it for special occasions, and I just love them. I just love my amigurumis. So, you know, no judgment, guys. But what I want to let you know is that for all the patterns that are mine, so that would be like the penguin, here's what I've got. I want to give you guys a coupon code to, if you're interested, no pressure if you're not, but if you're interested, go ahead, pick up a free pattern so you can, you know, try out amigurumi. I think I have some these are like not super intensive patterns. I mean, I would say it's like an advanced beginner, maybe an intermediate knitter, but there's not a ton of techniques that if you're watching a knitting podcast, chances are you know the techniques that you need to do these. There's also good explanations. You can always message me. But I wanted to give you guys a coupon code so that you can pick one up if you like. So go into my Ravelry store. Again, you can find me at Meg311Yo. And if you go to my personal page, it will show you that I've got patterns for sale. My name is Megan Cheer, Tchir. If you want to look me up just directly in the pattern section. And my coupon code to get you one free pattern is podcast. All lowercase, I'll put it right here. So go ahead, type in podcast, and you'll get one of my patterns for free. I totally am really excited to be sharing this with you guys. And I also have a free pattern for a crocheted turtle, like a crocheted version, not a crocheted version, a crocheted version of my Little Booties, the turtle pattern. And it's really popular, actually. So I've got a lot of people who have downloaded it. Almost 1,000 people have downloaded it. But I noticed that with the free patterns, people don't make a lot of project pages for it in the Ravelry. So I've got almost 1,000 downloads, but only, you know, just one project page. But for my paid patterns, I've sold a few of them, not too many. Again, it doesn't matter to me. I just wanted to write the pattern down so that I can make them. And I personally believe that a high quality pattern is worth paying for. And so they're normally $2. You guys are getting the podcast coupon code so that you get a pattern for free. But I really like supporting, you know, my favorite designers. I don't mind paying for patterns. If you don't, that's totally fine. And, you know, pick up your free copy. That coupon code is good through April 1st, 2017. So it runs from today, you know, through April 1st, 2017. So pick up your pattern. I'm not sure if it lets you do a second free one if you do a separate transaction. You know, you can give it a shot. I'm not sure. But what I have available for you guys, and I had to write them down, I've got the elephant that you saw. I've got my elephant pattern. I have the penguin pattern, which you saw lots of, not that one, this little guy. I also have the owls that you saw, Chubbs the owl. Oh, I didn't even show you guys my dinosaur. No big deal, he's cool. I have a dinosaur pattern. His name is Spike. Little hands, you can see him. Oh God, when we put him in the wash, some of the yarn ends came out, so I'll just hold that down. So this is my little dinosaur pattern. He sits down too. He's pretty cool. So I've got a dinosaur, an owl, an elephant, a penguin, a butterfly, and a turtle. Happy shopping, guys. Use that podcast coupon code for a free pattern of mine. If I just ask, if you do end up making a pattern, please put up a pattern page on Ravelry, because I'd love to see what you guys are knitting. It'd be really insane for me to see sort of how you guys are liking my patterns. Of course, message me with any questions that you might have. And just know that I genuinely appreciate it. If you're downloading it for free, awesome. Otherwise, no problem. And I think that's it. So, moving on, in regards to a potential future knit-along, I mentioned in the last podcast that I'm thinking about doing charity knit-alongs every month. You know, knit a single hat for charity. It takes 2 days. I hope I would be able to follow my own knit-alongs because I'm generally a fairly selfish knitter. So knitting for charity is something that I'm trying to do more of, or to start doing realistically, but I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. So I'm thinking that our first knit along is going to be a charity knit along. I'm hoping it's going to be something like easy. I'm going to wait until we have a few more people in the group, the Ravelry group. So I think on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, my name is Megan Cheer. Have an awesome day. Please, if you liked this video, like it down below on YouTube. That helps other people who may be interested in knitting podcasts find my video. Please subscribe to my channel. I've had so many views and a lot of new subscribers, so genuinely thank you. If you are a new viewer, please do subscribe. I hope to have another couple of fun videos coming up, as well as some purchases, which I didn't get to today. I'm going to do some travel coming up. My next episode, I'm going to Austin, Texas in about 2 weeks. And then after that, you know, we'll see. I'm going to London too. Anyway, that's that for today. Find me on Ravelry and Instagram. My name is Meg311Yo. And you can join our Ravelry group, the Knitters Party Podcast. And I hope you guys can check out this awesome beer. Again, it is Alley Cat Main Squeeze. It's a grapefruit IPA. Gorgeous color, amazing deep grapefruit flavor. You guys check it out. Thank you so much for joining me. Honestly, this is so much fun, and I'm really glad that you guys are interested in watching my videos because I have a blast making them. And it's not just because I'm drinking beer. I mean it. So thank you guys. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.